our protagonist finds himself awakening in the body of a noble who's a complete failure, Liam. The shock of being in a child's body sends him into a panic. His father, though irritated by the outburst, happens to be in a decent mood and merely orders Liam to sit down and avoid being a disgrace. Struggling to process the surreal situation, Liam convinces himself it must all be a dream and that he'll wake up soon. However, when the next morning arrives and he's still trapped as Liam Hamilton, it becomes clear he has no choice but to come to terms with his new reality. A little while later, his personal maid comes into his room to help him get dressed. Liam asks her a few questions and finds out that he's the fifth son of A, and that the party yesterday was to celebrate the birth of his new baby sister. Later that day, Liam is having a chat with his older brother Bruno to try and piece together a bit more about his current life. He finds out that Bruno is the fourth son of the Hamilton noble family, but they are on the verge of losing their status as nobility. Essentially, there's a rule designed to stop noble families from growing too arrogant. It dictates that every noble lineage must achieve something significant within 3 generations. If not, they lose their noble status and are downgraded to commoners. As it happens, the Hamilton family is now in its 3rd generation without any noteworthy achievements, which explains why their father and the eldest son, Alvit, are so eager to make a meaningful contribution to society to secure their place as nobles. Bruno, on the other hand, doesn't really care if he ends up becoming a commoner, because he's just a chill guy who doesn't give a freak. Liam is surprised by how nonchalant Bruno is about the whole situation, but, to be honest, he doesn't really care either. He literally got here yesterday, so he doesn't know what to do with his life in the first place. When their tutor announces the start of magic lessons, the instant Liam hears the word magic, Liam excitedly asks if he'll learn to use magic. Surprised by his enthusiasm, Bruno mentions a collection of grimoire in the storeroom, but warns that most people lack the aptitude for magic. Still, the instructor encourages Liam to study, as understanding magic is valuable even without the ability to use it. Liam goes to find his maid and asks her to show him where the grimoire are. She leads him to the mansion study, and Liam is amazed by the sheer volume of knowledge present here. He looks through the shelves and finds a book about basic fire magic. He opens it and decides to try it out. After following the instructions in the book, Liam is able to create a flame on the tip of his finger, which is really impressive. For a first attempt, Liam heads to his father's office to request permission to access the grimoire library. But his father, clearly uninterested in engaging with him dismissively, says Liam can do whatever he wants. While the exchange is somewhat discouraging, the key takeaway is that Liam now has permission to use the library. Over the following days, he dedicates himself to mastering all the basic elemental spells. In time, he becomes proficient enough to cast the spells without needing to reference the grimoire. Bruno is astonished because he can't use magic at all. He tells Liam he is amazing, and soon enough he will be able to make a name for himself. However, Bruno is curious about Liam's motivations and asks him if he's trying so hard to learn magic because he wants to become the next family head after all. That may make him a target for their elder brother, but Liam has no interest in the family politics of succession. He just thinks magic is cool. Having mastered all the beginner spells, Liam decides to move on to learning ice magic. However, as he's leaving the library, his father calls for him. It seems word of Liam's talent for magic has reached his father's ears, and despite showing little interest in him just a few days ago, his father is now suddenly very intrigued by him. He asks for a magic demonstration, so Liam shows him that he can cast magic without needing to open a grimoire. The Count is elated because he might be able to use Liam to secure their family's position from now on. He tells Liam that he is allowed to use whatever resources he may need for his magic studies. Out of nowhere, a report arrives that a certain man has been spotted on Hamilton territory. The Count immediately commands the soldiers to mobilize and capture him. Judging by the urgency, this individual seems to pose a significant threat. However, that doesn't concern Liam, so he simply heads back into the forest to continue practicing his magic. While he's walking out into the woods, he finds a man sitting under a tree. The man seems a little on edge once he spots Liam. He asks if Liam is a member of the Hamilton family here to capture him. Liam confirms that he is indeed a member of the Hamilton family, but he has no interest in capturing him. He doesn't even know who the guy is to begin with. The man relaxes upon realizing that Liam isn't after him, but then he notices the grimoire in Liam's hands and asks if he's studying magic. Liam confirms and explains that he plans to keep practicing, as constant training is the best way to improve. Just as Liam is about to leave, the man stops him and asks if he's interested in learning a more efficient method of using magic. Intrigued, Liam presses him for details, and the man demonstrates a technique that enables him to wield 5 different types of magic simultaneously. Liam is deeply impressed, so the man offers him a quick magic lesson, which Liam eagerly accepts. The man is surprised by Liam's politeness, as nobles are typically known for their arrogance, though Liam is different, likely due to his recent reincarnation. For the first lesson, the man instructs Liam to draw 2 diagrams on the ground simultaneously. Liam follows the instructions and demonstrates a natural talent for it. The next challenge is expected to be much more difficult. The man instructs Liam to attempt casting 2 different spells simultaneously. Liam gives it a try, conjuring a flame cutter with his right hand and a fireball with his left. After visualizing the spells, he successfully casts them both at the same time. On his very first attempt, the man is genuinely astonished, as it's incredibly rare for anyone to master this technique, especially on their first try. Encouraged by Liam's talent, the man urges him to push further and attempt casting 3 spells at once instead of 2. Liam gives it a try, and it seems to be working at first, but then his magic suddenly fizzles out, so Liam gets disappointed. However, the man assures him that he performed the technique properly, so the only reason the magic died out was because he doesn't have enough magic power in his body right now to sustain it. Casting multiple spells at once consumes an insane amount of magic power. So Liam just needs to learn to control his magic a little more to maintain the simile cast. For now, the man decides to give Liam a brief lesson on the nature of the technique. He asks Liam to sit down as he draws an illustration in the dirt. The drawing represents prime numbers, and the man explains that the multi-spell casting technique only works with these numbers. He admits he doesn't know why it works that way, but that's just how it is. Essentially, Liam can cast 1, 2, or 3 spells simultaneously, but attempting to cast 4 spells at once will fail, no matter what he tries. Right now, the man has a limit of 13 spells at once, which is unbelievably impressive. But honestly, he has enough magic power that he can easily go up to 16. However, due to the prime number rule, he can't activate any higher simulcasting until his magic power can accommodate 17 spells. Liam is currently 12, so the man is confident that with a solid training routine, Liam will be able to raise his magic power to great heights. To help him with that, the man offers him a special ring. The ring is essentially a colossal grimoire packed with countless spells that Liam can study whenever he pleases. Excitedly, Liam slips the ring onto his finger, and over 300 spells flood into his young mind. Eager to test them out, he faces the forest and activates the wind spell, unleashing a powerful gust of wind. Thrilled with the result, he turns back to thank the man, only to realize the man has vanished without a trace. Just then, Liam's mate shows up and warns him that it's dangerous to be out in the woods alone right now. Apparently, there's a suspicious man on the loose, so she tells him to be careful about talking to strangers. But that aside, she came here to give him a grimoire his father wants him to have. So she hands him the book and walks off to return to the mansion. The man suddenly reappears behind Liam, prompting Liam to ask where he had gone just a moment ago. The man explains that he never actually left. He was using invisibility magic to stay hidden, as it's crucial that no one discovers him here. Moving on, he comments on how fascinating the grimoire Liam has just acquired and offers to teach him something new. He instructs Liam to open the grimoire and attempt summoning a spirit while wearing the ring he had just given him. When he summons a fire spirit, it gets absorbed into the ring. He does the same with all the other elemental spirits, so he can ask for their help later. But by the time he's done, he realizes that the man is gone, and this time he won't be coming back. Before he left, he wrote a message for Liam in the dirt and told him, "Keep training your magic, and you will surely become a great mage in the future. And by the way, don't snitch on me if anyone asks. I was never here." Liam doesn't know much about the man, but there's no denying that he gained more knowledge in one afternoon than he could have ever acquired on his own. For that reason, he will always regard the man with deep respect as his master. A month after meeting his master, Liam has improved significantly in his magic skills through consistent training. Bruno is astonished to find that Liam has produced white charcoal, a difficult and valuable material requiring extreme precision, using only magic. He is further impressed when he notices Liam also has a bag of Lucro crystals. These are crystals designed to restore depleted magic power. Bruno asks if Liam created them on his own, and Liam confirms it, though he admits it was challenging to perfect the technique at first, since it requires casting 5 types of magic simultaneously. However, he eventually managed to get it right. Bruno is pleased to see how talented his younger brother is, as it reassures him that Liam will likely do just fine on his own. As for Bruno, he's getting married soon, so he won't be around anymore. Liam is shocked, since this is the first time he's hearing about any marriage, but Bruno explains that he is marrying into a low-ranking noble family. They have less money than the Hamilton family, but he will have more freedom there, so he's happy with the arrangement. Liam doesn't know how to feel about this, but he says he's happy for Bruno. Before leaving, Bruno decides to offer Liam some advice. He explains that their father had hoped for a daughter, intending to marry her into the royal family to solidify the Hamilton family's status as nobility. However, when Liam was born a boy, their father considered him a failure and resolved to try again for a daughter instead. In the meantime, their father grew increasingly anxious about the family's position, so, in a desperate attempt to achieve something, he sent out a force of men to slay a monster that had been sealed away in the forest. However, that plan failed miserably, resulting in the loss of over 90% of the forces. Their father is still trying to gain an achievement for the Hamilton family, but personally Bruno thinks the family is doomed. He wants Liam to think about a way to live independently. Liam takes Bruno's advice about becoming independent to heart and starts selling his creations to earn his own income. This turns out to be a smart move, as the white charcoal proves to be a valuable commodity and sells for a good price. However, Liam realizes he'll need something even more lucrative if he's going to make enough money to support himself fully. Since he's in town already, Liam decides to take a break at a noodle shop and asks for a bowl of ramen. The shop lady prepares one bowl for him, and Liam absolutely loves the taste, and so do a lot of people in town. But all the noodles here are made from scratch and don't last very long. So Liam comes up with a great idea to make some extra profit. After some experimentation, Liam heads to the kitchen, where his maid and the head chef are preparing dinner, and asks them to try his latest creation. He places a block of noodles into a bowl and explains that all they need to do is pour hot water over it. Once they do, it transforms into a tasty bowl of noodles. Liam had used his spirits to cook and dehydrate the noodles, making them last a long time and allowing them to be prepared almost instantly. He is sure his invention will be widely loved, so he rushes to the merchant guild to sell it, but to his disappointment, the merchant tells him he can't distribute Liam's product for him, since he is only the fifth son of the Hamilton family. As such, he will need written permission from his father or his eldest brother, Albert, to sell any original goods in this land. Liam doubts he'll be able to get permission without also having to surrender his profits. So he decides to give up for now and heads home there. It's revealed that Albert was the one who instructed the merchant to reject Liam's request. Unable to tolerate the thought of his younger brother being more successful than him, Alit is determined to do whatever it takes to sabotage Liam's efforts. However, while Liam may not be aware of his brother's grudge against him, he's determined to sell his products. No matter what it takes, he decides to take some drastic measures. First, he loads a bunch of his products into an item box he created with the man's ring. Afterwards, he begins casting summoning magic. But this time, instead of summoning a spirit, he intends to use it to summon himself. At first, it seems like the spell is going to function as teleportation. But instead, Liam ends up creating a perfect clone of himself and sends it to a neighboring territory. If he's not allowed to sell his products within the Hamilton region, he decides he'll simply sell them elsewhere. A few days later, Liam receives a message from his clone detailing the impressive sales it has managed to secure. At this phase, Liam is beginning to see real potential in achieving his independence. When Liam isn't busy selling his wares, he spends his time practicing attack spells. Using his clone, he's finally managed to master the control of the magic missile spell, which leaves him feeling quite proud of himself. Suddenly, he hears the sound of someone approaching, quickly dispelling his clone. He heads out to see who it could be. To his surprise, the visitor turns out to be Alit. Alit wastes no time and immediately asks Liam what he wants to become in the future. Liam knows Alit is only asking because he wants to figure out if Liam is really a threat to his position as the successor of the family. But as mentioned before, Liam has no interest in family politics. So he tells Albert that he wants to become independent in the future. Albert is relieved since he won't have to compete with Liam for succession rights if he becomes independent. To help him become independent as quickly as possible, he offers to put in a good word for him so he can join the Hunters Guild. Later that day, Liam makes his way to the Hunters Guild. The moment he steps inside, all eyes turn toward him, as the hunters doubt that someone as young as Liam belongs there. Ignoring their stares, Liam approaches the front desk to meet the guild master, who has already been informed about him by Alit. Despite this, the guild master insists on testing Liam's abilities. He instructs Liam to cast an offensive spell at him using any incantation he chooses. However, Liam is completely baffled, as he's never heard of incantations before, and has no idea what the guild master is referring to. The guild master had been expecting Liam to be slightly stronger than average, since Albert recommended him. However, after Liam fires his spell, the guild master has a near-death experience. Luckily, Liam had the sense not to aim directly at him. After calming himself down, the guild master grants Liam B rank status. Now that Liam has an official ranking, he heads out to complete his first mission, but before he leaves, he is approached by a girl. She introduces herself as Asuna and is clearly impressed by Liam's skills. She then asks if he would like to team up with her, while Liam had originally planned to venture out alone. He doesn't see any harm in having a partner, so he agrees to her proposal. Overjoyed by his response, Asuna excitedly grabs his hand and starts leading him away to get started. However, Liam is left confused, as neither of them has actually been assigned a mission. Yet Asuna explains to him that missions are only handed out to parties that are a rank or higher. The rest of the ranks have to go out and slay dangerous monsters for a reward. As luck would have it, they just so happen to run into a wolf monster. Unfortunately, it turns out to be an entire pack of wolves, so Asuna isn't sure they'll be able to handle this many. Liam, on the other hand, thinks this should be an easy victory with the two of them. He asks Asuna to finish the wolves off once he has incapacitated them. Liam summons a pair of earth spirits and cleverly uses them as bait to draw the wolves' attention. When the wolves bite down, Liam commands the gnomes to expand, effectively locking the wolves' jaws in place. With the wolves immobilized, Asuna is free to take them down one by one. By the end of the fight, they've successfully eliminated a total of 42 wolves. When they present the carcasses to the guild master, he's thoroughly impressed by their teamwork and skill, so much so that he offers them a special mission. There's apparently an important person coming to town in a few days, so he wants Liam and Asuna to take out an armored caterpillar that has been blocking the path. There would be a disaster if an important person were to get hurt while visiting their town, so Liam takes this mission very seriously. They find the caterpillar fairly easily, but no matter what they try, they can't seem to kill it all as soon as strikes, and all Liam's magic just bounce off its tough shell. If this keeps up, they'll never be able to take the thing down during a break. Asuna jokingly remarks that the only thing capable of piercing the caterpillar's tough armor would be a meteor. Of course, she adds, there's no way they could summon a meteor strike here. Her comment sparks a brilliant idea in Liam's mind. He asks Asuna to draw the caterpillar's attention while he prepares something. Although she has no clue what Liam is planning, Asuna trusts him and begins distracting the caterpillar. Once it's in the perfect position, Liam opens his item box and releases a massive boulder, crushing the caterpillar in a single, decisive blow. The method was so effective, in fact, that they managed to kill a second caterpillar. Liam was worried there might be more caterpillars around, so he used a search spell after killing the first one. And sure enough, he found the second lurking nearby and killed it too. The guild master is so impressed with Asuna and Liam's performance that he offers to give them 5 times the original reward. A few days later on the day, the important guest is scheduled to arrive. Liam, Asuna, and many of the town's people gather outside to catch a glimpse of the visitor. Liam's father and Albert are also present to formally welcome their guest. Strangely enough, the man seems to take a particular interest in Liam. After a series of events, the man ultimately requests a private meeting with Liam, leaving him utterly confused about the reason behind it. The man introduces himself as James Stanley and wants to get straight to the point. He asks Liam how he got Raymond's ring, suspecting Liam must have stolen it. Liam gets up and yells that he would never do such a thing to his master. He explains the whole encounter he had with the man in the forest. After hearing the story, Stanley finds it really amusing, since it sounds exactly like something Raymond would do. He apologizes for accusing Liam of theft, since he hadn't realized Raymond took on a student. Since he's already there, Stanley decides to test just how strong Raymond's student really is. He instructs his assistant, Simon, to stand in the corner and challenges Liam to fire his most powerful spell at him. Accepting the test, Liam positions himself and begins preparing to cast his magic missiles. To enhance the spell's strength, he chooses to incorporate an incantation. He recently learned this technique amplifies the magic power of a spell, with the best results coming from words that hold personal significance to the caster. Liam begins reciting the names of his favorite idols. The incantation evidently works, because Liam's spell casting is boosted from the usual 7 missiles to 11 at once. Poor Simon can't handle it, so the attack breaks through his shield and he gets hit. James is impressed with Liam's capacity for high-volume magic, so he offers him a reward and says he will be granted the status of a knight. Becoming a knight signifies that Liam is now independent, meaning Albert will likely stop keeping an eye on him, since he's no longer a threat to the line of succession. Meanwhile, James, who knows Raymond quite well, points out that Raymond has a penchant for playing practical jokes. He asks Liam if he's experienced anything like that recently. Now that he thinks about it, while training to master his item box, Liam accidentally used it to drain the lake in the forest. When he did, he discovered a letter left behind by Raymond. The letter was addressed to Liam and said that Raymond had wanted to give him 100 kilograms of gold as a graduation gift, but it all sank to the bottom of the lake. Instead, he decided to turn the gold into gold dust and mix it into the river. Liam thinks it was just a waste of all that gold to dump it into the river. But from what James knows about Raymond, there's probably more to it than just a practical joke, so it might be worth looking a little deeper into it. Taking James's advice, Liam returns to the lake and decides to drain all the water again. This time he comes up with a clever idea of using his item box to separate the gold dust from the water. As he does, a hidden door is triggered inside. Liam discovers a note from Raymond explaining that the maximum level grimoire hidden there is Liam's true graduation gift for solving the riddle. Raymond admits that he was never able to master it himself, but he believes Liam might be able to make good use of it. Liam takes a look at the grimoire and finds an interesting spell called Another World. After several hours of trial and error, Liam finally manages to get the spell to work. The Another World spell creates a separate dimension over which Liam has full control. He can open a gateway anywhere and no one can enter without his permission. Liam is overjoyed by all the amazing things he could do with this spell. As soon as he has the chance, he goes out hunting with Asuna again. This time they face off against a massive frog. Liam starts by summoning his fire spirits to attack, but their efforts aren't enough to take the frog down. In response, the frog begins charging its ultimate attack. Just before the attack lands, Liam quickly pulls Asuna into his pocket dimension, shielding them both from the frog's devastating electrocution. Once the frog exhausts all its energy, they seize the opportunity to finish it off. A little while later they return to the guild with the frog's magic stone. The guild master can hardly believe they managed to pull it off. That quest was a rank, so he at least expected them to struggle a little. But it looks like it was barely a challenge for Liam. Asuna gets upset at the guild master because he keeps referring to Liam alone, even though she fought alongside him. The guild master apologizes, admitting that since Liam handled most of the work, he almost forgot Asuna was even part of the team. Noticing that Asuna feels frustrated about being so much weaker than Liam, the guild master suggests a solution. Liam should make Asuna his slave. Both Liam and Asuna immediately reject the idea, as becoming a slave would mean Asuna would be forced to obey any command Liam gives. However, the guild master then explains that if Asuna became Liam's familiar instead, her strength would automatically grow in proportion to his. As soon as she hears that she's on board with becoming Liam's slave, sure, she won't be able to refuse if Liam ends up making pervy requests, but Asuna trusts that he wouldn't do that. Even if he did, she wouldn't mind. They end up creating the contract, and once it's done, Asuna immediately disappears. Everyone is shocked, but then she reappears behind Liam and explains that she just moved really fast. After the contract was established, Asuna heard a voice in her head that told her a unique skill had been acquired. Speedster Liam finds this idea fascinating, so much so that he's eager to test it out again. However, forming familiar contracts comes with the drawback of enforcing obedience, making it difficult to find someone willing to give up their freedom in exchange for skill. Luckily, Asuna knows just the right person for the job. They visit her friend, Jod, and explain the entire situation to her. Since Jod doesn't have much going on at the moment, she agrees to become Liam's familiar. After the contract is finalized, everyone immediately asks if she's unlocked a unique skill as well. Rather than tell them what it is, Jod walks out of the guild and returns with 2 sandwiches. She gives one of the sandwiches to a guy with a broken hand, and the second he eats it, his arm recovers. Jod explains that her unique skill allows her to heal people with the food she makes. A few days later, Liam has another meeting with James, who informs him that Princess Scarlet is planning to visit. Liam is baffled as to why the princess would travel all this way just for someone like him. Jane, however, reminds him that he successfully completed an rank quest, can cast up to 11 spells simultaneously, and has the ability to grant unique skills to others by becoming their master. The princess is especially curious to see Liam demonstrate the abilities of his slaves. However, Liam outright refuses to do anything of the sort. James is stunned that Liam would even consider rejecting a request from the queen herself. However, Liam stands firm, explaining that while Jod and Asuna may be his familiars, they are also his friends, and he refuses to turn them into a spectacle for anyone's entertainment. Realizing Liam won't change his mind, James concedes and tells him he's free to go. After Liam leaves, It's revealed that the maid who had been quietly serving them throughout their conversation was in fact the princess in disguise. James apologizes to the princess for Liam's refusal, but to his surprise, she finds it intriguing that Liam would defy royalty to stand up for his friends. That said, she's curious to see if he'll maintain the same stance when speaking to her directly. The following day, Liam is summoned to an audience with Princess Scarlet, who is no longer in disguise. Liam knows he must tread carefully with his responses to her. Upon entering her palace, he kneels respectfully before her, but Scarlet wastes no time and gets straight to the point. She orders a seat to be brought for Liam and remarks that she's heard of his impressive feats, defeating an armored caterpillar and a giant frog. What catches her attention the most is his ability to kill the frog without relying on high-level magic, a feat no one else has accomplished before. However, her curiosity extends further to Liam's familiars, and she promptly asks him to demonstrate their abilities. Liam can tell that she's trying to use her authority to force him to obey, but he can't accept her request. Scarlet asks him if he really intends to refuse a direct request from a noble, regardless of what the consequences may be. Liam remains firm in his answer, and absolutely refuses to turn his friends into a circus act. He is fully prepared to face Scarlet's wrath for refusing her, but to his surprise, she bursts out in laughter. Liam is the first person she has met who stays true to their morals, even in the face of higher authority, and she finds that really amusing. To reward him, she declares that from this moment on, Liam will be given the title of Baron. Liam panics, feeling unworthy of such a title, but Scarlet has taken a liking to him, and as the princess, she can do as she pleases. With this decision, Liam's family will not lose their noble status, but Scarlet has something else in mind for him. She offers him a familiar contract, grimoire, which excites Liam far more than the prospect of becoming a baron ever did. Overjoyed, he thanks Scarlet sincerely and happily sets off to begin practicing with his new grimoire. A little while later, Liam is sitting out in the forest while reading the grimoire, and he is able to use the spells inside pretty easily. However, until he masters the book, his contracts won't be permanent. While he's still practicing, he notices Bruno walk up to him and is really surprised, since Bruno got married and left home a while ago. Liam asks Bruno why he's here, but Bruno doesn't have a specific reason. He just wanted to come hang out with his brother, mainly to congratulate Liam in person for becoming a baron, since it's a massive accomplishment. Bruno tells Liam that he basically outranks their father. Now Liam doesn't understand what he means, since their father is a count and Liam is only a baron. Bruno explains that, although barons rank below counts, this country divides nobles into distinct categories. Those who achieve something significant and earn their titles through merit, and those who simply inherit their rank. Naturally, the nobles who earn their titles are held in higher regard. Liam hadn't realized this was how the system worked, but even if it means he now outranks his father, it doesn't matter much to him, since his main focus is on learning magic. As he strolls through the halls, he encounters Alit and greets him, but Alvid rudely ignores him. Liam is left puzzled, wondering what could have upset him so much. Meanwhile, Albert is absolutely furious that his stupid little brother is somehow overshadowing him. While walking, he overhears a couple of maids talking about how much Liam has been accomplishing lately, and he takes great offense to this. He yells at them and says, if they think Liam is so amazing, maybe they should quit and go work for him instead. The maids realize Alit is jealous of Liam, so they quickly apologize for offending him. But Alit isn't done yet. He asks the maids if they think Liam is better than him. The answer is quite obvious. One is a magical prodigy who earned a title at just 12 years old, while the other is a spoiled brat who hasn't achieved anything noteworthy in his life. However, the maids, eager to keep their positions, refrain from saying this outright and instead reassure Alit that he is superior to Liam. Satisfied with their words, Albert storms off bowing to prove his worth and show that he truly is better than Liam. He swears to accomplish something significant as well. The next day, Liam meets with Asuna and Jody in town. The three of them seem to have become quite popular, mostly because of how pretty Jody and Asuna are. Consequently, every guy in the crowd is staring daggers at Liam out of jealousy. Moving on, Liam wants the three of them to officially form party, but he doesn't want to force them to do something they don't want to do, so he asks if they're okay with it. Neither Asuna nor Jod have any reason to object to Liam's idea, so they agree to form party with him. Later that day, they all head out into the forest on a mission. Jod fires her bow, landing an arrow in a wolf's neck, and as it weakens, Asuna charges forward and finishes it off with her sword. Liam praises Asuna, noting how much faster she has become since becoming his familiar. On the topic of improvements, Jod points out that she no longer suffers from old lady vision thanks to the contract making her young again. Liam jokingly asks if having improved vision is always a good thing for Jod. The answer is a resounding yes, especially as an archer, better eyesight is invaluable. Hearing this, Liam raises his hand and casts an enhancement spell on Jodi's eyes, greatly increasing her ability to see farther than ever before. Asuna asks Liam about what he just did, so he explains that he just used a basic enhancement spell to give Jod better vision. Asuna thinks that sounds really cool, so she asks Liam to cast an enhancement spell on her as well. However, Liam doesn't think that's such a good idea. He could probably enhance Asuna's combat power, but it would be risky, since there's a high chance she would break her bones under the stress of her new strength. Something like boosted vision, on the other hand, has no real drawbacks. With her 2020th vision, Jod can practically snipe anything within the range of her bow, and it's all thanks to Liam, so she's really grateful. After a long day of hunting, Liam and his group return to the guild, only to find the place in utter chaos. Curious and alarmed, they ask what happened and are informed that Albert caused a massive disaster by breaking the forest seal. Liam quickly pieces together that Albert must have tried to defeat the monsters sealed in the forest. Driven by his twisted jealousy, feeling partly responsible for what happened, rushes to the forest to assess the damage. When he and the others arrive, the scene is far worse than they could have anticipated. Dozens of soldiers lie severely injured and many more have already lost their lives. Liam is utterly horrified by the devastation. He then spots Alit lying on the ground injured and runs over to check on him. However, as soon as Alit sees him, he gets up in a frenzy and starts yelling that he hasn't failed yet. Just then the guild master takes a stick and whacks Alit over the head, stating that the situation is already crazy enough as it is, and he doesn't need a crazy, insecure noble running around. Once Alit is taken away, the guild master approaches Liam and tells him he's glad he came. Asuna asks him about what's going on, so he explains that the dragon fiend Radon used to be sealed inside these woods thanks to the hard work of Liam's great-grandfather. However, Alit undid that seal in a failed attempt to kill Rhydon, so it's now on the loose. They know how to weasel the beast, and the guild master has already assembled everyone needed for the task. However, one major obstacle stands in their way. Radon's offspring, the young Radons, are the true culprits behind the devastation seen here. If the smaller ones can cause such destruction, it's terrifying to imagine the havoc the real Radon could unleash. Fortunately, having been sealed away for so long, Rhydon will take about a week to recover his full strength and launch an attack. If they can reel him before that happens, they might be able to prevent a catastrophe. Liam plans to help as much as possible, so he races over to Ron's location and finds him being guarded by the 3 little Radons. The little Radons aren't that big, so Asuna decides to try her luck and runs in for an attack. However, as she does so, one of the little Radons shoots a fireball at her. Although she manages to dodge it, the tree behind her gets completely vaporized. Liam then tries using his magic missiles to attack, but the Radons use their fireball to counter. Liam doesn't know what to do anymore. His strongest attack spell did not affect them. Still, Liam has one last trick up his sleeve. He commands Asuna to grab Jod and get away. As the Radons charge toward him, Liam opens his another world gate just in time, causing them to fall in and trapping them inside. The guild master is stunned that Liam managed to defeat all 3 of the young Radons on his own, and Liam himself can hardly believe it. It was an incredibly close call with. The little Rhydon is no longer posing a threat. The guild master orders everyone to begin the process of resailing Radon once more. While that's going on, Asuna and Jodi return to Liam's side, and he's relieved that they are all right. They ask him about the spell he used to defeat the little Radon, so Liam explains that it's a spell that creates a separate dimension. He trapped the little Radons in there, but there's no risk of them escaping, since at his current level of mastery, whenever he closes the gate, everything inside the dimension disappears. At that moment, Liam hears a voice in his head, and in the blink of an eye he is pulled into Ron's mind. Rhydon addresses Liam as a human with an immense soul and demands to know who he truly is. Confused, Liam insists that he's just an ordinary human. However, Rhydon is unconvinced, pointing out that Liam's body and soul are clearly mismatched. This leads Liam to consider that Rhydon might be referring to his reincarnation into the body of Liam Hamilton, sparking hope that Ron might hold some answers about the mystery. Unfortunately, Rhydon reveals that he knows nothing about it. However, what he does know is that Liam's life is bound to be an interesting one, so he offers to make a deal with him. Rhydon wants to accompany Liam through his life and promises that he will not bring any harm to Liam or those around him if he agrees. In fact, he offers to help Liam build on top of the skills he already possesses. Liam doesn't sense any animosity coming from Rhydon, so he ends up agreeing to the deal. All of a sudden, Ron's body dematerializes and is absorbed into Liam's soul, leaving a dragon mark on his hand. Liam can feel the power of Rhydon flowing through his body, so he decides to do a little test run and fires his magic missile into the sky. To his surprise, he is now able to control and fire 17 spells at the same time. It must be thanks to the power boost Rhydon granted him. However, wielding Rhydon's power appears to have some unintended consequences, as everyone around Liam starts experiencing severe headaches from the overwhelming density of his mana. Realizing that he is the source of their discomfort, Liam quickly suppresses his mana and apologizes for his thoughtlessness. To demonstrate his sincerity, he offers the guild master 10 kilog of gold dust, instructing him to use it to cover the medical expenses for those who were seriously injured during the battle. Later that night, Liam has a meeting with his father. His father is really grateful for what Liam did, as it prevented a great disaster caused by Alit's closed-mindedness. He also heard that James is still in town, so word of Liam's great accomplishment should reach the royal capital soon enough. That night, Liam goes to bed, and by the time he wakes up the next morning, he discovers that 2 new spells have appeared in his mind. Filled with excitement, he hurries outside to test them. After several hours of practice, he manages to successfully cast one of the spells, summoning a small Rhydon. With some additional practice, Liam is confident that he can train the little Rhydon to be effective in combat. But for now, it's nothing more than an adorable pet. While Liam is playing with a little Rhydon, Princess Scarlet happens to walk up behind him. She immediately recognizes the magic Liam just used as holy magic. Scarlet already knew Liam was impressive, but to think he would be capable of using holy magic at such a young age amazes her anyway. That's not why Scarlet is here today. She is here to give Liam his reward for defeating the Dragon Fiend. Scarlet had personally hoped to grant Liam a higher noble title, but the other nobles strongly objected to the idea of a landless child receiving so many promotions in such a short time. As a compromise, she decides to award him the Order of the Phoenix 3rd class. While present, she also expresses interest in hearing how Liam managed to defeat the dragon, as the specifics of his achievement might require her to officially declare him a national hero. The princess is utterly horrified when she learns that Liam absorbed the Dragon Fiend. She immediately questions whether she had been completely wrong about him. However, having witnessed him use holy magic moments before, she hesitates to make any definitive judgments. Regardless, she firmly instructs Liam to keep that detailed but closely guarded secret at all costs. The following day, Liam is presented with a chest containing 3,000 gold coins as hush money. He's not entirely sure why the princess is so adamant about keeping him quiet, but he decides it's best to go along with her wishes. For now, of course, he had already received his hush money from the princess. Growing suspicious, James called for a meeting to question Liam about what happened. Liam initially tries to brush it off, denying that anything noteworthy occurred. However, for the princess to pay him such a large sum of hush money, it must have been a significant secret. James presses him further, and eventually Liam cracks under the pressure, admitting that he can use holy magic. To prove it, he demonstrates one of his spells and explains that it can remove all negative status effects, including petrification and poison. James finds this incredible, though it's not entirely surprising, given that holy magic is regarded as a divine act of God. James asks Liam if he knows anything about the War of the 3 Dragons, but Liam doesn't, so James begins recounting the tale. Long ago, there was a battle between 3 mighty dragons that raged on until only one emerged victorious. According to legend, the dragon's triumph was largely attributed to its use of holy magic. Afterward, the dragon supposedly joined forces with a human, and its magic was instrumental in founding this kingdom. When James says join, Liam's first thought is that the dragon and the human got married and had children. But that's not the case. James clarifies, pointing out that Liam himself is a perfect example of what it means to join with a dragon. Now that he mentions it, Liam recalls that Rhydon did merge with his body, so technically the 2 of them are joined. James tells Liam that he's essentially recreating the legend of this nation's founding. While that's undoubtedly incredible, there are more urgent matters to address. The Hamilton family's noble status was earned through their grandfather's supposed achievement of sealing away a dragon fiend. However, it has come to light that Rhydon was not a dragon fiend at all, but rather the founding dragon of the nation. This means Liam's family unjustly sealed the nation's founder. If this creation were to become public, the Hamilton family's noble status would almost certainly be stripped away. Liam is determined to prevent that, knowing how desperate his father and Alit are to preserve their position. But there's something that James is even more concerned about, since there's a chance that Raiden is angry about being sealed away, so he may be plotting his revenge against their nation. However, Liam has a little chat with Raiden in his head, and Raiden says he has no intention of retaliating against the humans, so all he is interested in is watching Liam develop. James says this is terrific news, and it wouldn't be a stretch to say that Liam is the savior of the kingdom for being able to grab the attention of Raiden. A short while later, Liam arrives at the guild, but before he can step inside, the girls pull him away. Confused, Liam waits until they're a good distance from the guild. Before asking what's going on, they explain that the guild is overflowing with applicants trying to join their party. After hearing about Liam's defeat of a dragon fiend, many of them had been pleading with Asuna and Jod to convince him. The two of them compiled a list of all the potential candidates, though, to be honest, none of these adventurers seem particularly impressive still. As the party leader, the final decision rests with Liam. After that, Liam decides to head back to his house to read through the list, but as soon as he walks through the door, one of the maids says she has something to show him. These are all requests from the girls of various noble families, because they want to become Liam's wife. Liam had kind of expected this to happen, since he's popular now, but this many is more than he's prepared to handle. Even his brother is bringing him a letter at this point, but thankfully he's not the one trying to marry Liam. It's one of the relatives of the family he married into. While they're talking, Bruno asks Liam what he did, as it's definitely not normal to receive so many marriage proposals at once, even if he did defeat a dragon. The only people Liam has confided in about the holy magic are the princess and James, but the large sum of hush money the princess gave him has led the other nobles to suspect that something significant is going on with him. It's a bit of a hassle, but Liam can't deny that he's thoroughly enjoying all the newfound popularity. Later that day, Liam heads out into the forest with Jod and Asuna because he has something he would like to show them. He opens his pocket dimension, and upon entering, Asuna and Jod find a huge house in the middle of the room. Liam explains that he had a carpenter build it, and then he moved it in here using his item box. And that's all impressive. But Asuna is concerned that the house will just disappear, like what happened with the little Raidons back then. Liam explains that he has fully mastered the spell, and nothing inside will disappear anymore, which is why he put all this stuff in here. Liam gives Asuna and Jod a tour of the house, and they both seem to be enjoying it. However, Jod points out that the constant brightness in the place would make it difficult to fall asleep. This gives Liam an idea. He decides to summon a shade spirit to darken the area while it does work. It works a little too well, plunging the entire house into complete darkness. To fix this, Liam summons a fire spirit to light the fireplace, but the result still looks more like a setting straight out of a horror movie. So he asks the shade if it can control the level of darkness it creates. Unfortunately, the shade is low level, so it doesn't have control over its darkness. And although a mid-level shade would be able to do it, Liam hasn't learned the spell to summon one. Yet Asuna thinks it's a real shame that the low-level shade can't just become a mid-level one. That's when Liam remembers that his familiar contracts level people up. So he forms a contract with the shade, and it indeed levels up. The shade thanks Liam for forming a contract with it, and now, as a mid-level spirit, adjusts the darkness in the area to resemble nighttime instead of complete blackness. It then tells Liam that he can summon it anytime. However, Liam admits that he's unsure if he'll be able to summon the shade again, as he doesn't know how to use mid-level spirit magic. The shade then points out that Liam is wearing a magic storage ring, which he can use to absorb and summon it whenever he likes. Liam hadn't considered that, so he gives it a try, and sure enough, the ring successfully absorbs the mid-level shade. He then does the same thing with all the other spirits and levels them up before storing them in his ring. So Liam now basically has a mid-level summoning grimoire of his own. The next day, Liam heads out into the forest at Ron's request, and once he gets to the designated spot, Raiden asks him to summon one of the Raiden Juniors. Liam summons it, and the Raiden Juniors create an opening in a barrier that reveals dozens of pixies that have been hidden in the forest. As soon as the pixies realize Liam is human, they immediately start flying away to avoid getting hurt. Liam tries to reassure them, explaining that he isn't their enemy. He mentions that Raiden is the one who sent him here, and upon hearing Ron's name, the pixie begin to trust him a bit more. Pixie wings are valuable ingredient items and potions, so humans almost hunted them into extinction at one point. That's why Raiden took it upon himself to protect them by creating a barrier in the forest. However, since he's now living inside Liam, he can't maintain the barrier anymore, so he wants Liam to protect the pixies in his place. To do this, Liam first wants to form familiar contracts with all the pixies, so he asks them if they are okay with that. The pixies trust Liam, since he is working on behalf of Rhydon, and since he's going to be forming contracts with them. Rhydon asks Liam to give them names as well. Since naming things gives additional power to human magic, Liam forms a contract with a pixie and decides to name her Reen. However, to his shock, as soon as the contract is completed, Rena transforms from a pixie into an elf. Rhydon finds it fascinating that the pixie evolved into an elf, though he isn't particularly surprised. Liam, on the other hand, is completely baffled and can't understand how this happened. Rhydon explains that forming a magic contract and naming the pixie simultaneously caused the magic power from both actions to resonate, creating a much stronger effect than usual, which led to the pixie's significant evolution. Moving forward, Rhydon advises Liam to name every familiar he contracts with. After seeing the effects of the contract, all the other pixies are eager to form a contract and ask Liam to name them as well. Once all the pixies have been turned into elves, Ray asks him for some orders, since they are his familiars. Liam hadn't really thought that far ahead, since he just came here at Ron's request. But since the pixies are all elves now, he suggests that they should start building a village for themselves. He also appoints Rena as the leader of the village, since she was the first pixie he evolved, and she's the only one whose name he remembers right now. With everything settled, the elves begin planting their village, while Liam, completely trained, struggles to recover after expending so much magic power forming all those contracts. Just then he senses a strong surge of magic deeper in the forest and decides to investigate. He discovers a golden fruit hanging from a tree radiating an immense amount of mana. Curious, he asks Rena about it, and she explains that it's a fruit created by pixies. They gather mana floating in the air and condense it into a single form, essentially creating mana honey. When Liam asks if he can eat it, Rihanna has no objections. He cuts the fruit down and takes a bite. As soon as he does, not only is his magic power fully restored, but his overall magic capacity increases significantly, allowing him to cast 19 spells without chanting. The next day, Liam comes back to the village to check on how things are going, and Rihanna comes out to greet him. But she has some bad news. Even though he told them to build a village for themselves, they don't actually know how to build houses, so this is the best they could do. Liam figured something like this might happen, so he's prepared to teach them how to build homes for themselves. However, his lesson is interrupted when they hear one of the elves scream for help. Bandits happen to make their way into the forest, and as soon as they spotted an elf, they decided to kidnap and sell her off for money. Liam isn't about to let that happen, so he demands that the bandits release Susie immediately. But being bandits, they ignore him and try to attack instead. In response, Liam summons a clone and uses it to launch a simultaneous attack, quickly knocking them out. Although he manages to save Susie, he comes to the realization that this forest is far too dangerous for the elves to live in. He decides to relocate them somewhere safer and considers using his pocket dimension for now. However, he's unsure if it will be big enough to hold everyone, as the space wasn't that large the last time he checked. When he looks inside, though, he discovers that it has significantly expanded, most likely due to the pixie honey he ate the previous day. This works out great for him, so he tells all the pixies to get inside so he can take them to a safe place. A little while later, Liam has returned to his land and opens his pocket dimension for the elves to come out, and they are shocked to realize that they are in an entirely different area. Now Liam tells them that he brought them to his land, so they won't have to worry about being attacked anymore. While the elves are grateful, they are even more amazed that Liam was able to transport all of them here with a single spell. They all bow before Liam, pleading with him to become their king and swearing to do whatever he asks if he agrees to rule them, feeling a strong sense of responsibility to protect them. Liam accepts their request to lead, but he asks them not to call him a king, as he has no interest in dealing with the politics that come with the title. Now that he's their leader, his first priority is to find suitable land for them to settle on 4 days pass, and Liam is still working on securing a place for the elves to live, dedicated aiding much of his time to relentlessly practicing the new magic Rhydon taught him. When he finally figures it out, he tells everyone to line up. He then proceeds to teleport them all about 100 kilometers from where they were before, to a place called the Sealed Islands. Rhydon is the one who sealed this land, but he has permitted them to use it as much as they like. This would have been a 4-day trip if they traveled normally, but with the teleportation magic he learned from Rhydon, he can instantly travel to any location he has been to before. He tells the elves that they can live here from now on, but he's still going to need someone to build houses for them. For now, Liam leaves the little Rhydons in charge of protecting the elves while he's away and teleports back home. Once there, he is visited by the princess, who who asks if Rhydon ever mentioned a place called the Promised Lands. Liam admits he's never heard of the Promised Lands, but he does recall that Rhydon gave him permission to use a location known as the Sealed Lands. The princess then asks if Liam can take her there. Liam agrees, but says he'll need something from her in return. He requests that she bring one of the court engineers, as there's a project he needs their help to complete. Instead of taking the actual engineer, Liam creates a clone of Gallic and teleports both the clone and the princess with him to the Sealed Lands. Upon their arrival, the princess is convinced that this must be the Promised Lands. She begins recounting the legend which states that humanity's salvation lies in the Promised Lands, and that a ring passed down through the royal family for generations is said to be the key. However, the ring starts reacting to Liam. When he touches it, a massive section of the land begins to float at his command, overwhelmed. The princess bows before him and pleads with Liam to establish a nation here for the salvation of humanity. Liam really doesn't want to take on the responsibility, but the princess pledges her loyalty and offers all of her resources to support the endeavor, leaving him with no choice but to agree. Watch this next video on screen and subscribe to not miss next part.